quorum sensing was very first observed in the 1970s. There are some bacteria called Vibrio fischeri, and they live in the bodies of the Hawaiian bobtail squid. Isn't that beautiful?
Wow.
So the squid gives them accommodation and sugar and amino acid for food, and in return, the bacteria gives the squid the most ingenious defence mechanism by glowing all of them all at once and generating bioluminescence.
That seems like a really fair payment. Like, you get that incredible party trick just from getting some back... Like, if I got that every time I'd had thrush, I would...
I am so in love with the idea of getting thrush and suddenly being bioluminescent.
Yeah. It would definitely be literally the silver lining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two most popular Quality Street chocolates are the purple ones and the green triangles, and these should appear, by preference, 11 times in the box, and they actually appear just 5 to 6 times.
Oh.
And it's the same with Heroes, Whispers, Twirls.
No wonder this country's the way it is.
What?
Most uninspiring country in the world.
Okay.
Just the green one, please. The green triangle that doesn't really taste of anything.
Do you not have favourites?
I hit the toffee finger, I hit the caramel. Those ones are delicious. They are not the same, that's racist. The toffee one's a lot firmer, the caramel one's nice and soft. Give that to an old man with dentures, ask him if they're the same.
I just didn't expect, when I started on this show, that I would watch James call Bridget a racist.
Absolutely appalling what you just said about toffee fingers and caramel cups.
I like that everybody's got a line that they draw somewhere.
Why did it take 300 years to give the giant tortoise a scientific name?
A scientific name?
Yeah, i.e. the Latin name. It turned out to be called Geochelonia, you know.
Is it because they just thought that was pretty good, giant tortoise?
We'll leave it with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah?
no, I was going to say something about which now it's unusable. I'm going to have to say it now.
Go on. How with it, man?
They thought...
It's better be
They
good.
thought it was a normal tortoise, but closer, was what I was going to say. You see what I mean? But I couldn't get that concept. It's like, would it be actually further away? And a normal one further away would be actually a minute one. Would they mistake a quite far away normal one for a miniaturised one that's a bit...
Yeah, but the thing that you're saying is that the tortoise could be...
It's a certain way. If they say...
I like it. Oh, go that way.
Yeah. If there was like a tortoise over there that was giant, but for some reason thought it was just there, then I wouldn't think it was giant. I'd think it was just, oh, there's just one there. It was just a normal tortoise there, nothing about that. Oh my God, it's over there and it's that!
It would have to be on a huge beach with no other points of reference.
Well, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Are they...
That's not the reason.
Are they particularly litigious? Now, if you give me a name, I will sue you.
No, it wasn't that. It's a nice thought again. No, they had another property which was most unfortunate for them to have.
What the tortoises did?
They were edible.
They were so edible. Anyone, I mean...
Anyone who saw one couldn't stop to think of a name for it. They just had to eat it straight away.
Really one of those...
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called.
Do you know...
Just get one. They're really very good.
There's no Latin name for the pistachio nut. Exactly the same way. No one can be bothered. Just shut up with your Latin. Eat them. They're brilliant.
That's what happened.
No Latin name for Maltesers.
None of them made it. It's kind of true. None of them made it to London. None of them made it to Europe.
This time, we're going to take it and we'll take London.
Chuck it. Leave it. No.
However,
take it back. We'll get it up with a
ferry coming into Dover. There's a bloke going... leaving the door with a tortoise instead.
All right, look. Take 9 of them. We'll eat 8.
Everyone's looking at it and going, come on.
The seas become... The days on end, the seas become as one tortoise left.
Yeah.
Come on, sir. Come on, we'll go back. Let's just go back and get some more.
I'm not
imagine the moment after they've eaten that last tortoise. They're sitting there thinking, we are twats. I'm too full.
Even Darwin, on Darwin's last There were dozens.
He collected every species in the world and ate that one.
They had them all. They did.
It's done all the butterflies, done all the beetles. I'm eating that.
The only descriptions of them are comparing them to chicken, beef, mutton and butter and saying they're how much better they are than all of those things. No one who'd ever eaten tortoise had ever eaten anything better.
Why are they not farmed?
And the liver and the bone marrow, every part of it was unbelievably
Whereabouts
delicious.
are they from?
Well, from the tropics, mostly.
Are there flights over there?
They are now protected. All 12 species.
If they're that delicious, they can't be. Well, they just say, yeah, we protected them. They're all in there. No need to look.
Yeah, they're fine.
There's a border around them, like North Korea.
Yeah. There's a big pile of shells, like those piles of tyres you see in a scrapyard.
But there were some that survived, however, and let me tell you about a very extraordinary
That
one.
bloke there, he's just befriending that one. Yeah, come over here, my pretty. I'm trying to think of a name for you.
But they are amazing animals. Apart from how delicious they are, Adwaita died in 2006, and he was Clive of India's pet. There he is.
Oh, they're 200 years old or something.
255. He was born before Mozart, before the French Revolution, and his death was announced on CNN. I mean, that's a heck of a life,
And you can list his achievements on the back of a stamp.
Well, why would he need to
Well, his
achieve
principal
that
achievement is it wasn't.
He lived 255 years. People think probably the oldest living creature because they don't live so long out of captivity like most animals, and he was, well cared for. But that is a pretty astonishing
It is
lifespan.
quite... So it lived 255 years and is massive. I mean, I've achieved 50% of that. That's great.
There are 12 species of them, all of them endangered. Well,
They
one.
all taste nice?
Well, I don't know, but it's very sad that they so many were other species were, basically wiped out just because they were so lovely. Not only that, they were also used as water stores. It sounds a weird thing, but they have a special kind of internal bladder that stores water so perfectly that it's drinkable. When you slit them open to cook them, you also get, like a gallon of fresh water.
Wow.
So they would stack them up on boats, tons of them. They'd be stacked up, one on the other, and they couldn't move. And they didn't need to be fed for months, so that they actually contributed a lot to whaling and other things because they were used as a foodstuff and a water supply that was just kind of permanent.
So you've got the water as well. And imagine if you smash the shell open, there's like a little toy in there, like a Kinder Egg. Like a little game, you've got to get the balls in the holes.
So how do they exist in the wild anyway, if they're so delicious and slow-moving and massive and useful?
They didn't have any natural predators until man discovered them, basically.
Right. So they were evolutionarily complacent.
They were exactly like a lot of island species. They're a lot like that, and it's only man who crosses islands in the way we do
Like all those
who does it.
ridiculous flightless birds on New Zealand.
Yeah.
Essentially, they got lazy.
Yeah.
They got lazy. What's the point in flying? Now, some of them go, we'll need it one day. I bet we'll need it one day. Nah. You're too anal, you are. Just walk around, it's easier.
Yeah. Anyway, despite being discovered in 1535, giant tortoises weren't properly catalogued by science until the early 19th century because they were so delicious that no samples ever made it back home.
Don't you not want some points or not?
Well, that's very difficult to say yes or
What do you reckon?
There's 3 negatives.
Yes. Don't you not want some points or not? Do you not want some...
Do you not want some points?
Or not?
Do you not...
Do you not?
Well, we also don't know whether he does or not.
Yes.
Don't you not want some
Points or not?
Or not?
Do not want points.
So here's the thing.
It's true to say that I do not want points.
Yes. So,
Or not.
would mean that you do...
You'd say, do you want points or not?
No, yes, but...
So the answer is... Well, there's 2 questions.
No, it's just one question with one answer, but I just tell you now, one answer has a klaxon and one doesn't.
I want
think I'm giving too much away here.
Can we help
The
him?
show's nearly over. I'm filibustering.
Just,
You asked the question in English.
I did, yes.
English, there are 500,000 words in the Oxford English Dictionary. It is the largest language in the world.
Yes.
1,000 times no.
Oh, yes. Have you thought about today?
Yes.
Yes is the right answer. Yes.
Yes isn't the right answer.
Oh.
It's not a yes-no question.
No, that's what I thought.
Well, but fundamentally, yes is better than no, is where my head's at. Although I was enjoying Giles's...
But curiously, the answer would have been different.
I didn't mean I'd come back to it.
No.
I wasn't enjoying it that much.
But interestingly, the answer in French would have been yes. Oh, no, no.
In French, you could have said, I don't know, which is je ne sais pas, which is a double negative. Or...
But if you translated, what did you originally say?
Is it too early to lose the will to live?
I'm extremely concerned, Sandy, that you, a role model for women everywhere, should, in fleshing out the double negative, come out with a statement broadly, yes is better than no. That's not what I'll be telling my daughter.
There's a lot of these in pop, aren't there? A lot of these in pop and rock lyrics.
Yes.
There's lots of I can't get no satisfaction.
Yes, there is. And if it's a positive double negative, like Tom Jones's It's Not Unusual, that's fine, OK? Because basically...
Why is that fine?
Well, it never used to be a problem, the double negative. And then in the 18th century, they became obsessed with mathematics, and it's to do with mathematics.
Oh.
So they began to codify the language as being illogical if it didn't fit with mathematical thinking. So in mathematics, minus a minus is a plus.
Oh, do this in Danish.
OK. Yeah. Så de tænkte mange år siden, at... I can do it. No, I won't do it now.
If you do that, I think I've had a stroke. No.
I always just think there's a body being found as soon as I...
Now, why do doctors hit your knee with a hammer?
To test your reflexes.
Yeah.
That's correct, but what reflexes are they?
The reflexes of the...
It's because they don't like...
There's nerves that run from the thigh upwards to the...
head.
No. No, you would think that.
It's something to do... So the expression's like a knee-jerk response.
A knee-jerk reaction, yeah, a knee-jerk
because it doesn't go to the brain.
Yeah,
it goes... It communicates amongst itself.
Well, it goes
somehow.
up to the spinal cord. It doesn't go all the way up to the brain at all.
Yeah.
So it is unmediated by the brain entirely. It is absolutely a knee-jerk
It only
reflex.
happens in two times. One is when you get hit on the knee with a little hammer like that, and the other is when you're asleep on a crowded train. It's only two times. And you never see a doctor rushing off with a little hammer.
Right. Anyway,
What if you did a murder with your reflex? If someone sort of attacked your knee and then reflex, you had a knife attached
broke
to your
their neck.
shoe or something, and you killed them, would you be able to say, but the reflex, it didn't go to my brain, it only went to the bottom of my spine, so I didn't really do it?
Yes.
That's like when you're driving and you have an automated response. It's called like murder by automaton, but you don't go to prison. So if you sneeze, for instance, and then you run someone over... Someone sneezed!
Yes. Talk about a reflex.
That means there's been a murder!
That's murdered someone!
Now they know they'll get away with it.
Wow.
It's something like...
If you walk into a room with a gun cocked, sneeze, it goes off, you kill someone, you're in the clear.
So if you want to kill your wife, what you do is you drive down to Dover, you get her right up against the cliff, and then you put your leg behind her and then get a doctor to tap the knee. Off she goes.
And the doctor would go to prison.
That would act up.
The doctor would go to prison.
I think so.
What if he was sneezing as he tapped the knee?
The perfect crime. Broadchurch Series 2.
I love this imaginary super compliant wife that you found.
To be taken.
Just come all the way here and stand there. What are you doing here?
Why does the GP come with us?
Get her out of the house.
It's a lovely view, my love. Stand still.
Vietnam War. Who was buried in the tomb of the unknown warrior or soldier?
We don't know. I think all of them are anonymous, deliberately.
Sure, the whole nature of this show will mean that the unknown soldier, it'll be he wasn't a soldier, they knew him,
And he wasn't dead.
He wasn't dead. Yeah, I mean, the unknown soldier was actually buried in a replica of a large red chili somewhere in Ghana.
Was he an unknown soldier when he was still alive as well? But he kept turning up and everyone said, howdy, how you doing?
He seems keen to join in.
I don't know who he is. That unknown soldier, he died. Oh, it's burying him.
No, what happened in the case of the Vietnam War was that there was an unknown soldier buried there, but there was a particular family who thought they heard that the unknown soldier had died in a helicopter crash, but they thought their own son had died in the same helicopter crash. And so in the 1990s, they persuaded the American government to do a DNA test on the unknown soldier, and it was indeed their son. So the remains were returned. So since then, it's been empty. It's unlikely there'll be another unknown soldier, because all American soldiers certainly are DNA profiled, and British ones too, so that they will always be known.
That's a happy ending, isn't it?
Yeah, but the original unknown soldier, do you know when this was, the first time it was done?
Was it after the First World
It
War?
was after the First World War. It was done in the year 1920, simultaneously in France and Britain. In Britain, there were 4 unknown soldiers, and a general pointed at one body, and that became the unknown soldier, who was honoured, it's rather wonderful this, with a state funeral in Westminster Abbey, with full military honours, entombed with a medieval crusader sword from the Royal Collection, in the presence of a guard made up of 100 VCs. And the guests of honour were 100 women, each of whom had lost her husband and all her sons in the war.
That is so
amazing,
isn't it?
An amazing ceremony.
And the cenotaph is actually a memorial to the unknown soldier,
Yes,
isn't it?
it is. That's right.
What it
So,
is.
I mean, it's a kind of
Was it
way
designed
of...
by Lutyens, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe it was. Very good. I think you must have points. I think
hope so.
Make up for the rather large collection of negative points you've been building up.
That's a very funny round, I think.
Well, no, it was.
Interesting to see if we can pick it up from there.
Yeah, but it was quite interesting, if not quite funny, and I think worth it. I mean, just amazing. I thought that story.
Now, the year is 1792. It was a notable year for a number of reasons. It was the year the guillotine was first used.
Which was last used in 1960. Point for that.
No, because it's not true. You're wrong.
It is true.
No, it isn't. We'll come to that, I'm afraid. 1977. The last French... Sorry. No, it was a one-legged French criminal who was guillotined in 1977. 1792 was the year the guillotine was first used and the year of birth of the inventor of the computer and the death of the man after whom the sandwich is named. What was invented...
Lord Sandwich.
Yes. Guess. Well, it wasn't going to be Nora Butty, was it?
Charles Babbage.
Charles Babbage, you're right, is the inventor of the computer, so you've all added to that.
Difference engine.
But, yes, the difference engine.
I know how many people were at his funeral.
Oh, go on.
3.
Really?
Yeah, only 3 people went to his funeral. None of his friends turned up because he was a laughingstock by the time he died, and he'd invented the computer.
Yeah, I know.
Which was only recently,
They rebuilt one, didn't they?
Science Museum and turned it, and it works.
In Vietnam, the guillotine was last used in 1960.
However, in France, in 1977... But
En France.
En France, exactly, en France.
Has anyone survived it?
Well, remember Jim Dale in the film...
Surviving, you can go.
That's smart. That's smart.
Sablon, anything.
Guillotine be gone.
Your head is flopping over.
Do you remember Jim Dale in the Carry On film, Don't Lose Your Head? And he's just being guillotined. It's in the French Revolution, they say. There's a note for you from Robespierre. It says, leave it in the basket, I'll read it later on.
There's a horrible truth to that, because, of course, it was maintained by contemporary witnesses that a lot of the heads were quite sentient.
Yeah. Why was it hard for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle?
Guys, to the right!
This is because it was a gate, wasn't it? It was a gate.
No. Christ, if you remember, says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God.
Of course, and these were the days before liquidizers.
Yeah.
So there was no chance of pureeing up the thing and getting a straw and... I mean, it would be a mess, but it would be doable, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, because remember, this is a rich man we're talking about. He would have people to do this for him.
He'd have all the white goods, wouldn't he? You know,
Well,
if there's anything...
obviously, what happened is a lot of rich men read the Bible and thought, that can't be right, surely.
So there are two get-out clauses. One was this idea that there was an Eye of the Needle gate
Wasn't it?
in Jerusalem city walls, but there is absolutely no contemporary historical or archaeological evidence.
Well, actually, in biblical times, women's hands were significantly bigger than they are today, so a needle's eye could be 40 or 50 foot across. Enormous.
You still want that rich man to get through, don't you?
Well, the thing is, what someone told me, I might say, at my bloody school, which is still going, and it turns out it's talking bullshit.
I bet it was a private school.
Private school
where they don't like to get on the wrong side of rich people.
There are two sorts of gate to get into cities in those days. One that was quite wide, one that was quite narrow, and a fully laden camel couldn't squeeze through quite a narrow gate, and those were called eyes of needles. And what Jesus wasn't doing was being sort of sarky and going, yeah, it's about as easy for a rich man to get into heaven as to get a planet into a shoe. He was actually saying that if the camel was no longer fully laden, hence the wealth had been, dumped somewhere, then the camel went in easy as
I
you
don't know
like.
how rich you are if all your stuff is on the back of one camel.
But it depends if it's diamonds.
Yeah, damn
really rich. They hadn't found all the South African diamond mines then, so diamonds worth even more.
Yeah, good point.
In the coronation of George IV, all the diamonds in the crown jewels were hired. The King of England wasn't rich enough to own enough diamonds for one poxy coronation. That's how expensive diamonds
Can you
were.
hire
now,
diamonds?
any sort of rap star's got
Of course
loads.
you can. At the Oscars, all the actors hire diamonds.
That would be the Everest of unsure engagements, wouldn't it? I've just rented this for a week. Let's see how things go. Let's wait till after you put
But no,
out.
you're absolutely right, David. That is precisely what...
Jesus was being
Jesus
sarcastic.
meant exactly what he said.
Should have just said, you can't. If you're rich, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Given the choice, what would be the next best thing to having a Nobel Prize winner in our audience tonight?
Dennis Leary had a great joke about the Nobel Peace Prize. He said, the Nobel Peace Prize, I'd kill for one of those.
That's very good. Now, there is a sort of serio-comic version of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, it's the Ig Nobel Awards.
Yes. The Ig Nobel Prize is given to people who usually are genuine scientists who have conducted research, some of which is just a little bit weird. There, for example, we have on our left a woman who invented an emergency bra that could be torn apart and turned into a gas mask. And two gas masks, obviously. And there on the right is the inventor of the Ig Nobel Prize, Mr. Mark Abraham. And I'm proud to say that in our audience, we have a winner of the Ig Nobel Prize, Professor Chris McManus. Are you there? There he is. Hey. Now, Professor McManus. They called you in the press the oddball professor. Perhaps you'd like to tell us the reason you won the Ig Nobel Prize.
Well, I got the prize in 2002 for some work that was done half a lifetime earlier in 1976.
Yes.
And the paper was published in the most prestigious of science journals, Nature, and it was called Scrotal Asymmetry in Man and in Ancient Sculpture.
So your work was looking at how male testicles were asymmetrical?
Precisely.
I've got an issue. Well, maybe you could help because you're an expert.
Well, perhaps I should examine you afterwards. It's probably easier.
I think I can explain it. One of mine is bigger than the other two.
Very good.
1 million British horses were sent to the First World War front. What happened to the ones that survived?
They settled in the south of France, opened a caravan park.
Of course, they couldn't learn the language. Ended up moving back.
Ah, well, but that's what they didn't do, is move back.
Did the French eat them?
Well, lots of people ate them. Probably they were turned into food or they were rendered into products. Yeah, the point is, 1 million horses is a heck of a lot, but almost none made it back home. They thought...
some did, because in Warhorse he did.
Yes.
He came back. He did come back.
1 million horses went to the First World War?
From Britain, yeah.
That's extraordinary. I mean, if you think about just the logistics of getting 1 million horses across the Channel, I mean, they're not all David Williams.
No, exactly. According to Michael Morpurgo, who wrote that book, Warhorse, you just mentioned, 8 to 10 million horses died in the First World War. And they didn't have a nice time of it, even if they did survive, because they thought they'd be diseased when they came back as well, so they just didn't want them. So it was a very sad chapter in our story.
Yeah.
It's a bummer, isn't it? I've silenced you.
It's like when they play the Black Beauty music, I just start crying. Well, you know the bit where where Ginger dies. It's really, really sad.
You know what? They call him Ginger.
So I would have that music at my funeral, definitely. Black Beauty music.
It's a deal.
You.
I'll arrange it.
It's a deal. Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll make sure it happens.
Good.
So how fast is that coffin going to be moving? Quite a lick by the sound of it.
One of the most popular ones to have now with the coffin going on is the countdown theme. Like that.
It is bizarre the way people go crazy for horses, though. I remember being, like, in primary school. It was the first time I saw anyone... And it did a really weird thing. It really stuck in my head. And there was a little girl in our primary school class. We were, like, 6 years old. And she was just in floods of tears. Just crying, bawling her eyes out. And we kind of went, what's the matter? And she went, I just love horses so much.
Oh, is that how you were?
I don't see why that's strange. I had to write one of those, you know, they sometimes ask you to write things for, you know, your first love. Genuinely, my first love was Frank, and he was a pony. Who wasn't very handsome. He had brown ears and a spotty neck and a really bad sweet itch, so his mane just kind of stood up in sections. And my mother always said, if you could love Frank, then everything in the world would always be beautiful, because you thought he was beautiful. And I did.
Oh, that's so touching.
He was lovely. He understood me.
There's a whole...
He did understand me.
Why little boys don't care about ponies? I know families who move because the girl, you know, for the sake of, you know, having more space so that maybe they can get a horse.
Well, we were emotionally mature a little earlier.
Yeah.
About 50 years earlier.
I would never move for a child's hobby. You know, I can see it like John go, but I love ponies. Yeah, well, I like this house, my own house. But you pay for the mortgage, you can stick a pony in every room, right?
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
All right, why are you asking?
Not your dad, all right?
All right. Thank you. So, yes, the fact is very few horses sadly made it home from the front. If they weren't killed in action, they were likely to be fed. Did Queen Victoria think of Mr. Bean? Yes.
We are not amused.
So soon. Albert would have liked it because he was German, and the Germans are mad for Bean.
That's true.
I was on a Lufthansa flight once, and everyone was howling with laughter all around me with headphones in. I couldn't understand why, and I looked, and they were all watching Bean.
Yeah.
They love it.
There's a certain efficiency about it. Yeah, this does something and falls over. It's very amusing. Before, he was walking in the straight lines, and he walked into the door. Genius!
This is what happens when you break the rules.
Sometimes I stay up very late.
Can I take this off?
Of course you can. Of course you can take it off, old thing, yes. Is it uncomfortable?
They're all locked.
It's Sean Locke!
I suspect it's not that Mr. Bean.
No,
Is there another Mr. Bean?
It was a man called John Bean, who was one of 3 people who tried to do something to Queen Victoria just in the 4th year of her reign, when she was a very slip of a thing.
Take her roughly behind the bike shed.
No, or indeed invent the bicycle and then invent the shed with the...
Sell her tea towels door to door.
Kiss her on the mouth.
Quite the other.
Oh,
Kiss her on the arm.
Is that a request? Is that you phrase it?
If you're the Queen, you can get anything done, can't you, really? You there, kiss me on, all right.
As much as kissing someone as a friendly act, these were unfriendly.
Surely he didn't turn down her advances with knockers like this.
Oh, how could you?
Kicked her in the shins.
No, 3 times in
Tried to
1842
murder her.
they tried to assassinate her, tried to kill her. And there was one called Mr. Bean who had a gun and he filled it with wads of tobacco, which didn't really do much harm.
Was he trying to give her cancer? I'd like the idea of Mr. Bean trying to assassinate someone by clumsiness. Yeah. Just, you know, making a cup of tea and the whole house collapses, the palace falls. Everywhere he goes, it's basically a sort of tornado of disaster, isn't it?
Mayhem.
I was in a remote Australian sheep station once, and the bloke went, "Yeah, you ever watched that Mr. Bean?" And I went, "Yeah," and he goes, "That bloke's a bloody idiot."
That's fabulous.
He goes, yeah, he wouldn't last 5 minutes in the bush. well, no, clearly not.
Yeah. So, what's the world's biggest river? And where is it?
Is it underwater?
It's a nice thought.
Amazon.
Oh! Hang on. There you go.
Nile.
Nile? Well, you just... No.
When you say biggest,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Widest, longest?
Carries the most water.
Carries most water.
You're going to be so angry. It's in the sky. They're called atmospheric rivers.
Oh, no, I've got to say, sometimes on behalf of the audience, I hate this programme.
I agree, and I'm really... This is hurting you far more than it hurts me. No, they're known as atmospheric rivers. They're vast ribbons of water vapour moving water around the world. They appear in different places, different times.
Are they the
2,000
ones
kilometres
that
long.
are perfectly timed to coincide with bank holidays?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
They're the ones. 2,000 kilometres long and only a few kilometres wide. But although they cover less than 10% of the globe, 4 or 5 of them contain 90% of all the world's water vapour at one time. So the world's biggest rivers are in the sky. All right, I'm sorry about that. But seriously, name the world's biggest river that isn't in the sky.
Go on, Alan. Go on, Alan.
An actual river
that
this
isn't in
time.
the sky. No, that isn't in the sky.
Yes,
Is it one of
but
those
still-
ones that Alan's mentioned already? Do you think, maybe?
No, there is a river under the Amazon called the Rio Hamza, and it is actually bigger than the Amazon itself. It's only discovered in 2011.
The Rio Hamza.
Exactly, the Hamza.
Is it sort of hook shape?
A rather sad coincidence, I'm afraid.
River hated by the tabloids.
Hated by the tabloids. Yes. They collected data from 241 abandoned deep wells, and it runs 6,000 kilometres, like the Amazon above it, but is up to 4 times wider. And that's 200 to 400 kilometres wide.
How far down is it?
4 kilometres beneath the Amazon itself. I mean, some people would say it's an aquifer, but it actually flows horizontally like a river. So and it is called Rio, which is river.
Do things live in it?
There's
There must be
always something,
organisms.
isn't
There's
there? No matter
usually.
how crap a place is,
Yeah.
Attenborough always goes, even here. Something very stupid
Something comes by.
has built his house. It doesn't matter.
The Muppets.
You go anywhere, wouldn't it?
The organism Muppet.
Yeah.
A little light on his head.
It's
and
true.
here they are mating.
It's absolutely true. The first dictionary in English?
Oh, yes. Johnson.
Samuel Johnson.
Samuel Johnson. It wasn't Samuel Johnson. I led you down the garden path and
Baldrick.
banked you. Baldrick.
B.
Probably a B, yes.
Very good. We're going to have to write the whole dictionary tonight.
Dr. Johnson's dictionary, which was written in the earlier part of the 18th century, was preceded by... Well, there was...
Famously, the first
There were lots,
dictionary.
weren't there?
There was a Richard Mulcaster in the 16th century who came up with the name football, in fact, and indeed invented refereeing and the idea of football teams. But he wrote Elementary in 1582. He was the first to gather all the words which we use in our English tongue out of all professions, as well learned as not, into one dictionary. But he didn't give definitions. He just listed all the words that he thought they existed. But in Robert Corddry's Table Alphabetical of 1604, not only listed words, but gave definitions, so it was perhaps the first true dictionary in the sense that we know it. It listed around 3,000 hard words, as he called them, defining each one. So then Johnson's dictionary had how many entries? Around the time there were about 250,000 or 300,000 words. How many did he list?
42.
So you were so close, 42,000.
Thousand.
That was really close.
42,000
42,773. But we've got some Johnson words that have gone out of use, and maybe you can mention what they mean. Tongue pad.
Mouth friend.
Mouth friend. Don't we all need a mouth friend?
Sometimes
Yeah.
we certainly do need a tongue pad and a mouth.
Sometimes I like a
frigorific. I hear you, Bill.
Frigorific.
Yeah, we've all been frigorific in our time. A double latte is, I
That's
think
a
it's
coffee.
single shot,
You
isn't
can
it?
get those in.
Yeah, just after. It's depucillate.
Oh, that's what you do before a big
frigolate,
date,
yeah.
isn't it?
You'd be meeting a mouth friend.
Yes.
You get a bit of tongue pad. Slip the old shapesmith.
Is a shapesmith just a rubbish blacksmith?
No, a shapesmith is basically what we...
I've done a thing. You've been to the shapesmith? Yeah. Sort of looks like a doorknob.
Yeah, it's not a horseshoe, but it's horse jewellery.
Like a horse clog.
nipple.
They found in Camden Market and sold all that crap.
No, a shapesmith is actually what we would call a personal trainer. It's someone who gets you into shape and improves the shape of your body. It's
Time
a
for that
shapesmith.
word to come back. I think.
Shapesmith, exactly.
I'm going to see my shapesmith.
My shapesmith. A tongue pad.
I hate that.
A tongue pad is just a great talker. Just gives someone who just natters all the time. A mouth friend is... it's someone who is a friend to your face but is duplicitous behind your back. It's just,
God, I know a few of those.
Yeah, a few mouth friends. Pretends to be your friend. To depucillate is to deflower, to bereave of virginity.
It's not a bereave.
To pluck the
Let's not see it as that. Frigorific sounds like something Del Boy might say, but what is it?
It actually, I suppose we would... It's probably rather badly spelled. We should pronounce... Yes, cold. Should pronounce it frigorific, probably. It just means causing cold. Something that's it's frigorific. Causes cold. So, some of his definitions were just a little bit lazy. Sock. Something put between the foot and the shoe.
He must have thought, though, because, you know, previously the one before you say had been just of hard words. He must have just thought, look, everyone knows what a sock is.
If you can read, you'll know what a sock is.
Yeah, if you've got this book and you don't know what a sock is, then I can't help you.
Exactly. Oates was a famous one.
I guess he said horrible things about the Scots in his one on oats, didn't he?
He did. He said a grain which in England is generally given to horses, but in Scotland supports the people. He describes the worm to deprive a dog of something, nobody knows what, under his tongue, which is said to prevent him, nobody knows why, from running mad. It's just a very strange...
Wasn't a scientist, then?
No, I think probably not. What was Darwin's problem with brown owl, and why did he not describe it?
Now, clearly, if one makes a joke about Girl Guides here, like he was traumatised during a period in the Girl Guides.
Help me now.
We even predicted your mistake, because I think brown owl brownies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must have died before...
Before the brownies existed, exactly.
He probably ate it or something.
Ah! So he ate brown owls, you're saying?
Well, actually, he didn't, because he described it as indescribable, which is why he didn't describe the brown owl. Well, actually, as food, he meant, because Charles Darwin, one of the greatest scientists, one of the greatest men, really, of any age, was considered a very dim pupil and couldn't spell and was terrible at arithmetic and went to Cambridge. The only subject his father thought was fit for him was divinity. And he spent his time chasing rats and shooting and looking at animals and eating strange animals. He was a member of the Gourmet Society, or the Gluttons, as it was known at Cambridge, and their aim in life was to eat as many rare and peculiar animals, like bitterns and hawks. But brown owl, they didn't like at all, and all the others became bishops and archdeacons.
Is this still exists, this club?
Exists? Stephen's the president of it.
Yeah, otherwise you write me around for Fox on Creme.
Right. I drink Panda. That's the... Oh, it's lovely.
I've got a book at home. It's equivalent to the Collins Book of Birds from 1850. And after describing each bird, at the end it will say, for instance, a buzzard tastes a little bit milder than a golden eagle. Yes. But still quite palatable.
Does it have a wine recommendation at the bottom? You suggest a Chablis or a New World Merlot.
Do you know what you should drink with the beating heart of a cobra? And this is a dish in China where you get a cobra and it's brought to the table alive. They then slice it open, rip the heart out, and it's beating on the plate there. You have to chase it around the plate, I suppose. And then you drink the blood of the snake as the wine.
Actually, I ordered the lasagna.
What's the most disgusting thing you've ever eaten, Alan?
Earwax.
Your own? It was your own, that's all.
It's really horrible.
Bitter.
I mean, if just a tiny bit on the end of your fingers.
Sweet and sour.
Imagine if you had to have a sandwich of it. Really like a block of it.
Anyway, a phylum feast is held on the 12th of February every year by zoologists and biologists, in which they try and eat as many different species as possible, in honour of Charles Darwin, whose birthday... an ingenious interlude. Have a look at this glass tank behind you and tell me how many balls there are in there.
1, 2, 3.
Well done, Alan.
4.
So far, so good.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. 5.
The worst episode in the National Lottery.
So how many are in there, would you say? 5.
5.
5. Well, it looked like 5, didn't it? Yeah. 5. You might be rather surprised to know that there are actually over 1,000 glass balls in there. And we can show you perhaps a better view of how many there are. What's that? Look. They're all invisible, and in fact, we have an example of precisely these kinds of... There they are.
Yeah, they're gooey.
They're really weird. They're called hydrogel beads.
But I can't see them.
You can see them, yes, and we deliberately allowed them to be visible. But in large glass tanks, they wouldn't be visible.
If you push one underwater, it goes invisible.
Exactly, and they have the same refractive index as water, which, as you know,
lights can pass through at the same angle.
So they appear to be invisible in water.
We can't see it!
Yeah.
Quick, a hairdryer.
It's gone down the set.
Is there a...
We're suddenly going to start floating away.
Is there a use for them?
Yeah, there we are. I've got a glass of water there.
Are they worth £500
£7.
each?
Are they edible?
I wouldn't want to take responsibility, but I don't think they'll do you any harm.
Try one.
What are they... What are they used for?
Well, they have a commercial use, actually.
Oh, I broke it.
Oh, no. Is it burst?
Yeah, it burst.
No, it's sort of gone into pieces, actually.
It's like... Oh, yes, it's rather strange little material. Can you guess their commercial use?
Packing things.
Oh. No, flower arranging is one.
Is it for packing goldfish when you get them through
Exactly.
Why aren't they making battleships out of this stuff?
Isn't it... Well, who knows? All kinds of new
Submarines.
uses
Make a
may be
submarine
found.
out of it.
I have to say, this feels gorgeous.
It's quite good, isn't it?
Oh,
it's quite a good feel.
Isn't it?
It's really... There's there's something quite gorgeous about that.
Yeah.
It's just...
Might have a play around with that later.
Yep, you might. Another use is the manufacture of... Behave.
Yes, disgusting.
Another use...
Jack's going to put his willy in it.
Oh, dear.
Oh, I've already put it in, that one.
It's weird, because when you put it in, you couldn't see it.
Well, it has the same refractive index.
We told me to think of a comeback.
Yeah, the other use, apart from flower arranging, is the manufacture of contact lenses.
It'd really freak people out if you put them in your eyes, wouldn't you? You big,
well,
big
obviously, yes, not necessarily in the round.
Marty Feldman's contact lenses.
Any of these coming up in any of this?
Some domestic appliances that really nobody wants.
La, la.
In a vicarage, a tie rack. That is good.
I can't take that away from you.
I'm appealing, sir. There's an act of great pedantry here, but there's not technically an appliance.
Unless it's electronic tie.
An auto steam tie rack.
There are electric tie racks. Yeah, there are tie racks that go...
Really?
Yeah, there are.
Such a thing exists?
Electric ones, I promise you.
Wow.
And that actually takes us to what the right answer is. When you said steam... Yeah.
Those Corby trouser presses that you have in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone use or heard of anyone using.
Brilliant.
Do you mean others don't?
You've
Am I
used
the only
one?
one?
I use them.
But not necessarily for trousers. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Whoa! Anyway, there's a whole load of appliances that were made in the 1920s and 30s when a lot of British people were starting to get a little bit more prosperous just before the crash. And they thought about going on the electric, as it used to be said. We're going on the electric. And what would be the killer app that would put them on the electric, the thing they wanted to have most?
Electric light?
That would be one.
Plug-in radio?
The wireless set. Yeah. And who were the other main suppliers other than electricity that had already been there? Gas. They thought, well, what we'll do is provide gas-powered radios to stop people from going on the electric. And there's an example of one. And they put them out, and they said, oh, not only will you get the BBC, but you will warm the room slightly.
Increase the glow of your contentment.
Increase the chances of your house exploding. And not only did they produce wirelesses, they produced trouser presses, oddly enough, washing machines, washing up machines, everything that you can think of that is a household appliance, a white good, as we would now say.
There were gas-powered fridges, weren't there?
Yes, there were indeed. Very much so. But they just didn't catch on because electricity was just more reliable. And it's not that the gas actually powered the radio so much as that the gas created the current that powered the radio. So it was still electric, it's just you use your existing gas main. What is 3 times more dangerous than war?
3 wars.
Is it doing a Yui on the A40?
This is according to the United Nations.
It's probably something really inane, like cycling, trampolining.
It's work. More likely to die at work than you are at war.
Does that include soldiers?
What if you work in a shoe shop near a war?
You always guarantee you will find some cunning way to make me not know anything. And I don't know what the statistics are for people who work in shoe shops near wars.
How many times have they actually had a war in a shopping centre? It's very rare that first world countries get invaded, but if they did, you could have a shootout in a multiplex, couldn't you?
If you lived in South London, you'd find a lot of wars in shopping centres.
I've been invested in a shopping centre.
Have you? Tell us why.
For an act of war?
I knocked a security guard's hat off.
Oh, a very Bertie Wooster thing to do.
Yeah. I didn't even do it on purpose, I was taking my jumper off. I was absolutely arsehole as well. And you're very much hearing my side of the story. I called it actually rather a story of defence.
I read a thing once that said 1/3 of all accidents at work go unreported. How do they know?
Lumberjacks have the most dangerous job in America, it appears. 122 deaths per 100,000 employed.
So that song's entirely wrong, is it?
Yes. Exactly.
How could you die doing that? Just trees falling on you?
You're saying trees falling on you like that's a bit of a pansy way to go. That's a legitimate way to die.
It's just the only real sort of peril, isn't it?
There's a lot of chainsaws.
But also, you're not very well protected in panties and a bra, are you?
And also, if you're a lumberjack, you're supposed to be good at it.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to chop down trees and go, oh, it's the other side, isn't it?
Well, now, yes. According to the United Nations, more than 2 million people die from work-related accidents, as opposed to 650,000 people a year who die in war. What was the most disastrous haircut ever? Yes. Some examples for you there.
I've got 2 answers and I get the screen going up there. One is my last haircut. No, or Samson's haircut. Samson's haircut done...
Yeah, Samson's haircut's a very good answer, actually.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yes. You just noticed.
Well, you must remember posing for these, or has this been...
I remember the one in the middle. For the other 2, I have no memory.
I know for a fact that in 1928, the New England Tool and Die Manufacturing Company was looking for a new screw that wouldn't slip out of the notch, and a man named Phillips worked for him, who had one of the most disastrous haircuts ever. It was parted in 4...
That would be an example of a disastrous haircut that went good. This one, well, I mean, of course, there are many candidates, and Samson is one, but do you know anything about Louis VII of France? There he is on the left. We're talking about the 13th century. His queen became queen of a more famous king to us, being British.
Aquitaine.
She was Eleanor of Aquitaine, absolutely
long
right.
hair, yes.
The point is, Louis VII was very religious, and the monks got to him, and he cut that hair off. He looks rather good there, but apparently he cut all his hair off, and she was furious at it.
Oh, right.
So cross that eventually she divorced him. I mean, there are other things too, probably, but the hair is mentioned by historians as
He
one
also
of the
cut
things...
his cock off.
Maybe, I don't know, his mother may have sold
Has your mother sold a mango?
Maybe that had happened, yeah.
I divorce you.
But the consequences of the divorce were enormous, because she then went over, she was incredibly rich, she took her kingdoms with her, married Henry II, and it began the 100 Years' War.
Yes.
So essentially it was the haircut that began a 100 Years' War.
Yeah, but that's just something you say in polite company. Like when you telling the people you're breaking up with your partner, you go, yeah, well, I ain't like what he did with his hair, so I left. You can't really say about the king, he keep farting in bed. I just don't like his haircut.
Yeah, you're right. What is interesting about this poor king is he definitely wouldn't have had sexual relations with Eleanor's mother because he was very abstinent indeed, and he became ill, and the courtiers suggested it was because he hadn't had sex. Yeah. And so he consented to have the Queen sent for, and they said, no, she's too far away. If you don't have sex immediately, you will die. But genuinely being told that he had to have sex or he would die, he actually said he would rather die chaste than live an adulterer.
See, that leads you to believe that he had a bad sexual experience as a child.
Yes.
Yes. And just, you know, because, you know, most men wouldn't rather, like, face death than have sex. So something happened when he was a kid, maybe a teenager, maybe his wee-wee got caught in the zipper, or he mangled, or...
Yes, the mangle.
Or he said, I'm not ready for this yet, maybe just let me lick your elbow. And the woman just said, do what you do best. And...
Very good. The Simpsons make a reference to the 100 Years' War.
Oh, do they?
Do you know what they call it? Operation Speedy Resolution. Anyway, so, we've all had bad hair days, but the one which helped start the 100 Years' War... Tell me all about the 12 Frenchmen and the 12 mosquitoes. Dara O'Brien.
Once upon a time, there were 12 Frenchmen called Happy, Sleepy, Arrogant, Furieux, des choses comme ça, Bof and Zutelor.
That's 6.
Fenêtre, Boulangerie,
Le Table.
Le Table, of course, and Jambon et Fromage, the twins. And they used to travel around with mosquitoes, solving adventures.
And what were the mosquitoes called?
Stingy.
It was a very, very low-rent 1950s French detective season that involved, at some point, the extraction of a tiny amount of blood from one of the suspects.
Do you know what else a mosquito can be other than a...
It was a World War II plane made out of wood.
Made out of wood, exactly, made out of balsa wood and plywood. What was their great raid?
Tuck shop.
I don't know, was it made into a film?
It was. There were 12 members of the Resistance, the Maquis, and they were due to be shot by the Gestapo. And the Allies would send in these 12 mosquitoes to bomb the chateau in Amiens, so that all the prisoners would escape.
I can't believe that they just blow the bloody doors off.
Basically, that was
the whole place with 12 bombers.
You're right. What happened was they had to go down an avenue of poplars, which was so narrow they had to fly.
Down the avenue of poplars?
Yeah, but exactly like that. That's what you'll have to do. There were 700 prisoners in the prison. 102 were killed by the raid to start with. 74 were wounded.
Yeah.
Then 258 escaped, of which 179 were rounded up within the next few days by the Germans again.
My girlfriend's grandfather flew one of those, and he actually goes now and visits in Germany with the Luftwaffe pilot whose plane he shot down during the war. And they go and they sit around and, you know, go, ha, great days. But neither of them speak the other language. Like he doesn't speak German, the Luftwaffe doesn't speak English, but they sit there and...
Sit back and...
Yeah. The temptation if you're standing behind
And for over 50 years, that German man has been peeing in your granddad's tea.
We had an Airfix model of one of those. I gave it to my dad for his birthday, and he made it before breakfast.
the transfers on?
Yeah, painted it and everything.
Yeah. That was a pain because you had to put them in hot water and wait for them to slip off. And then, of course, with chubby 6-year-old fingers, you just end up covered in swastikas. It's not a good look here. You go to school and they think you're in the BNP, and it's no, I've been trying to make a hind call, sir.
What's this guy on about? That was a 1972, rather before its time, piece of rap by an incredibly famous Italian called Adriano Celentano, who is not known here. He had a huge hit with this, which is called Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuzo. You can see it written up, and that'll help you.
Oh, wow.
Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuzo in the Colmen Seuvan Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuzo, all right.
Which is Italian for Gangnam Style.
Yeah. What it is just babble.
Yeah.
It's babble that is supposed to sound like English. To an Italian, it sounds more or less like English sounds.
There's that famous clip of the person on Malaysia's Got Talent where they're singing Mariah Carey, Can't Live Without You, which is possibly the greatest song ever recorded. But she's heard it clearly through Second Party and doesn't know what the lyrics are, so she bursts into the chorus and she just goes, Ken Lee Booty Bootachu. This is about a guy called Ken Lee.
Anyway, that was a huge hit in 1972. #1 in Italy, and it was in the top 10 in France and in Belgium and the Netherlands. It's babble that is supposed to sound like English. But in 2011, London-based filmmakers Brian and Carl produced a wonderful film called Squirrel, which used a similar technique. The dialogue is actually gibberish, but sounds like English. It's had over 7 million viewers, and we can actually show you a bit of it here. Run VT.
It's fine for me to display the Joe drink all around the mass-production town while I formass the Pope for cream and... You want for why I chose Farine and all? You want for why I bleed the whole chase Patrine? You want to get for what?
That wasn't gibberish, but we've got them here tonight. Brian and Carl, thank you very much. One of the hardest things to do in the world is to talk gibberish without it becoming... Did you actually learn your gibberish?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you imagine that there was sense behind it? He thinks she's forgotten his birthday. Is that what...
That's one interpretation. I'm not an actor, but Fiona, who's in the film, is an actress, and so she needed to know what this was about. She needed the intentions, but I think it was important to kind of have a sort of a sense behind what we were saying.
It was a lot like what you were talking about with the Mariah Carey, Ken Lee and stuff. We sort of had the sentences and then kind of garbled them and kind of wrote down the garble as it came out.
I understood more words in that clip, though, than I did in 5 series of The Wire.
And are you Australian, but?
Yeah, I'm Australian, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Because we had a similar thing that we do where we don't use words...
Do you think I haven't noticed?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you have it? Another thing you do, which sounds as if you've got heartburn.
That's how they get the actors on Home and Away to do an emotional scene. They just give them heartburn.
Right.
Oh, Stephen, the cafe's burnt down again. Australians will make enough noises that could be a sentence, but there are no actual words in it. It's just... I'll try. So, Carl, you having a good night? You all right?
Yeah, it's all right, man.
You enjoying your time with GI?
I was all right, I know what you're about.
Also, I have a similar thing that I can do with posh people. This gentleman in the front row here, with the blue trousers.
There you go. Anyway, sorry, that's wonderful, Brian and Carl. Thank you very much indeed. Very welcome. And be honest, have you ever enjoyed a shower in chocolate sauce?
So is this a euphemism?
It emphatically is not. And everybody's to put away those thoughts.
No, I've put my hand in a chocolate fountain.
We are almost certain you have enjoyed a shower in chocolate sauce.
Oh.
Oh, hello. I was so drunk, Sandy.
And I suspect that most of you have, not necessarily all of you.
So it sounds a niche area of interest, certainly.
Well, let's think of films that have got showers in them. And
Psycho.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah. And the shower scene is the pivotal scene.
Oh, because
I know
it's
what
black
you're
and
going to
white.
say.
It's
That's
black and white.
The water doesn't read on film.
The water
No,
does.
it's the blood. The blood is...
It was a chocolate sauce.
Bosco chocolate sauce.
Bosco's chocolate sauce was used for the blood. And actually, talking as we were earlier of editing, one of the reasons it is the most famous scene possibly that Hitchcock directed, and one of the most famous scenes in all cinema, is that it contains 77 different camera angles and 50 cuts and lasts only 3 minutes. And I've done this. I've sat there counting the number of cuts in 3 minutes.
Wow, you must get out, Stephen, really.
Because films are...
Sitting next to you at the cinema, like...
No, not in the cinema.
Who's Paul Rain Man with him?
50 cuts there! Stop the clock.
When I was a kid in the States, we used to have ice cream with Bosco chocolate sauce on it. And you couldn't serve it without going, It was
Oh, so you all knew?
Yeah, so it was
that's
the
right. Have you seen Psycho?
I have not, no.
You see, your generation, you just don't go for the classics. Because it's black and white, you go...
I'm waiting for it to come out on Twitter, and then I'll...
Exactly.
The sound of the stabbing, I think, was a knife in a melon.
Absolutely right. And actually, Hitchcock first wanted the scene to be just, as they say, effects. In other words, the sound of the water, the sound of the shower curtain being torn, and the sound of the knife going into the cassava melon. But his favourite composer, who composed a lot of his films, Bernard Herrmann, wrote this astounding score with these jagged things and begged him to listen to the version with it. And Hitchcock said, "You're right," and actually doubled his pay on the movie.
Hitchcock sounds like Jeremy from Top Gear.
Sounds exactly like that. You're right. You're right. Yes. Just 2 seconds in and you're nursing a semi. Everybody was against him making the film. He'd just made North by Northwest, one of his most lavish, colourful, beautiful, extraordinary thrillers, and he wanted to be known for a different kind of film because he was always experimenting, always trying different things.
That film is so clever, Psycho, because you're with Janet Leigh all the way from the beginning. She hatches this plan, she's got this money, she's on the run.
Steals 40 grand.
You can't wait to see what's going to happen. And then she's gone halfway through the film.
Oh, thanks for spoiling it. Thank you.
I don't feel I have, really.
No, we didn't.
Given the
You might have
picture of her
guessed.
being murdered in the shower.
Do you remember the last shot of the shower scene? Just to get really nerdy.
What is it? Isn't it the eye and the...
That's right. Her head's sideways down. It's all the shots are... There's no long shots. It's all mid-shots and mostly close-ups. And he was so concerned to get it right that there just wasn't time for her to get accustomed to these contact lenses that would give her dilated pupils, which freshly stabbed people have, apparently. And so that was the one inaccuracy he was rather annoyed with. But no one wanted to make the film. Paramount said no, they wouldn't make it. He said, all right, then I'll make it in black and white to be cheaper. And they said, no. He said, well, I'll use my TV crew. He used a TV crew to make it, not a film crew. And one of the most successful movies of all time. It was nominated for Best Picture, Oscar, you know, and...
It's
marvellous.
worth seeing, Trevor, but not with Stephen.
No. Sorry.
Sandy will take you.
I'll take you. Do you know, this evening has changed my life.
What is Australia's deadliest creature, in fact?
Oh,
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch.
After Rupert
So
Murdoch.
sorry about
After
the
Rupert
fact he
Murdoch.
came here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
excluding a member of the human race, which I'm not sure whether that does or not, but anyway...
Is it the spiders, the funnel web, the red
It's going to be something on the road, isn't it?
It's the box jellyfish.
No, it's not. That is a nasty creature.
Is it people?
Is it rabbits? Is it rabbits running in front of utes or some sort of...
You're certainly right that most of the deaths
gonna be
caused
a
by
road.
animals in Australia are caused on the road, but the animal that is most responsible...
Crocodile?
Is it man? The most deadly of all
Snake.
Shark.
No.
Say that I'm not born there.
It's not a bit of cat, though. In the year under the sample year we're taking, one human being in Australia was killed by a cat that year. But 128...
A cunning plan executed skillfully and quietly.
It's the road. The road's involved.
Often the road.
Are the people in the car at the time?
Sometimes, yes, but sometimes they're on the animal involved.
They're on the horse.
It's a horse, yes. A horse. More people are killed by horses than... It's a very angry horse there.
That one needs a dental hygiene appointment ASAP.
It seriously does. Yeah, because they fall off and break their neck, or indeed they cause car crashes and so on. And horses kill 3 times more than the ones you've mentioned.
When we lived in Australia, my wife bought a horse, and she's desperate to try and get me to ride, right? So she said, I bought this horse, it's really docile, you'll be fine. So I got... Well, no, there was actually... The problem was it was too docile. What happened was it ended up being studied by Melbourne University because it was one of the few horses that was... medically got narcolepsy. So I swear to God, it's one of the rare cases of a narcoleptic horse. So she buys this horse, and she said she couldn't work out why every time when she was grooming it, it would get heavier. Like that. And so she couldn't groom it because it would fall on her. So she says to me, "It's fine. The horse is narcoleptic. Get on it." And so I got on it in full motorbike gear because I wasn't taking any chances. I sat on this horse and it started to just... And you know, normally you kick a horse to make it go. This one, he kicked it and it would go, what? Hey? Like that. To make it up. And sometimes it would fall asleep against the electric fence. So it would go like that. Hey! Oh! It's like Jack Douglas from the Carry On.
Oh, well, that's my kind of horse, frankly. Yeah. But it is the horse, anyway, that turns out to be the deadliest animal. In what way is Iceland's most recent volcano similar to Genghis Khan?
I think they're both shag nasties. Genghis Khan apparently has shagged everything that moves, and that he is the father and mother of all populations in Europe and Asia, so he shagged everything that moves. And the volcano, of course, has spurted out, had an orgasm of ammonia, and has fertilised Europe. Damn good answer.
I have to be brutally honest and say that's not what's on my card.
Oh, shit!
If there was no such thing as science, you'd be right. I think I know what it is.
Yes, go on.
I think, obviously, that volcano stopped lots of transport going on.
Yes.
He must have stopped something happening, which the volcano stopped happening.
You're in this right here. The odd thing is it's both very beneficial, especially at the moment. It's the thing we talk about a lot. Now, that volcano poured out, they reckon, between 150,000 and 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide. So there's a huge amount of carbon came out as a result of it. But, if you remember, no one flew for however long it was, and the lack of flying saved 3 million tons. So, in fact, it was a huge offset of carbon. And in the case of Genghis Khan, he slaughtered his way across the world and had the largest empire the world has ever seen. 4 times bigger than that of Alexander, twice the size of the Roman Empire. And he killed about 40 million people. And the result was there was so little farming that the forests grew back. And you can time a huge benefit to the world from his slaughter. But that's rather extraordinary, isn't it?
So what do we have to pronounce?
Now, yes, that's what I was... How did you know that I was going to ask that as a supplementary question?
I thought you already did.
Oh, did I already say it?
Oh, that or I read it off the
you read it off the audio? You great big cheater!
There.
I would now like you to pronounce the name of the volcano, and it's written up there for you.
God alive. You're prawn rings.
You should have been a newsreader.
With your accent, you've got the best chance.
It looks a bit like that, yeah? Any thoughts?
Ye Jaff Yally Jockcrow. Yeah.
Brian,
I
Pregnant woman just got
You may have set it off again by doing that.
Yeah. I think the umlaut changes it, doesn't it? Those two little dots.
The two dots.
Yeah. And I think, actually, the way you're supposed to pronounce it is... Hutch.
If only.
It changes it.
Apparently, it's Eyafayat Leyokodl.
And is that translated big smoky bastard?
Yes.
You will go by ferry.
Basically, are there so many lavatories in the Pentagon?
One each.
One each. Do you know how many people work in the Pentagon?
Thousands.
23,000. Whoa. There aren't 23,000 lavatories, so... No, I'm afraid it's a really ghastly reason. Where is it?
Virginia.
Virginia. Virginia was a southern state, and it had laws. And those laws...
Racial segregation.
Segregation. It was a law that you had to have one lavatory for white people and one for black people. So there were double the number. I'm afraid it's true. It's a horrible truth. It shouldn't have happened because it was built in the 40s under the presidency of FDR, who had specifically outlawed racial segregation in federal, because he couldn't legislate for the states, but he could at least say that no federal building. And so when he arrived for his first inspection, was told he was furious that there were all these lavatories.
Well, it's not very PC, that's true, but have you ever been for a queue in the ladies' loo?
So it's nice for you that there are so many...
Yes, in a way.
You
but
racist.
No.
No. They didn't actually go through with it. I mean, although they built them all for that reason, they were banned from using it and they were never racially...
And look at all the tennis courts they've got as well.
Well, it's vast. That centre bit alone, just to give you a sense of the scale, is 5 acres. Just the middle bit. 17.5 miles of corridor and these 284 lavatories. 6 separate zip codes. Just the Pentagon. But apparently it takes only 7 minutes to walk from one place to another.
Only one cleaner they have.
How many men have been president of the United States?
Oh, it's 46 or something?
Well, shall we ask the great man himself? Shall we ask the current president?
Is he here?
Is he here tonight? Ladies and gentlemen.
What a waste of a guest.
I'm glad we've given up my seat. I think it's sat in the audience for this one.
Here he is, the president, but which number of the United States? He's here to tell us.
I thank President Bush for his service to our nation. As well as the generosity and cooperation he has shown throughout this transition. 44 Americans have now taken the presidential oath.
He's wrong. He made a mistake.
He's only been on once and he's wrong already.
He is currently known as the 44th, just as Bush was known as the 43rd, but they aren't. Bush was the 42nd and he is the 43rd. Oh. Do you know why this is?
One of them was invisible.
Was there someone who was president for a bit and then stopped being president? Someone else was president and came back?
There was one non-consecutive president,
right,
who was the 22nd and the 24th.
Why did they count him as 2? That doesn't make any sense. Yet they count Clinton as 1.
Yeah, because his terms are consecutive. This one was the 22nd, then Benjamin Harrison was president, and then he was the 24th. This was Grover Cleveland.
I think if I was doing that, if I was setting that system up, I would have gone for the number of different men. Right?
Yes.
I would say, you know, that you get a new number if you're a different man.
Person, exactly.
Not if there was a gap.
No, I know, but there's only ever been one gap, and for some reason they didn't do that. So when he took his second oath, he was called the 24th president, although he was the same man who'd been the 22nd.
Well, he was actually Stalin.
He was, he does look a bit like...
So not only did he rule Russia, kill millions of people, he was 2 presidents of the United States.
It's a weird system,
That's
isn't it?
a CV.
It's quite a bombshell.
Now we know what he was doing in between presidents.
Yeah.